Hey everybody, welcome to Moment of Clarity. Let's talk about the wildfires, but particularly I want to talk about the mainstream media's coverage of the catastrophes going on in California, Oregon, Washington State. These fires just keep getting bigger and bigger, and they're setting records, as they say, every year, as if... my favorite is when they say, this is going to be one for the history books. Oh, really? Do you think in the year 2050 they're going to be reading about the big fires of 2020? No, because this gets into the history books every year. Each year is a new one for the history books. They're not going to be reading these history books in 2050 because the history books are going to be on fucking fire. Anyway, Fairness and Accuracy in Reporting had a great article about these fires and about the mainstream media coverage of it, how they've been covering it. And the point is that the mainstream media has at least been talking about these fires. They've been talking about these completely unprecedented climate change, obviously related fires that are going on in many Western states. And the way they've been talking about them, and believe it or not, they've also been talking about the prisoners that are used to fight fires. Many of you already know this, that many of the people fighting fires in these states, especially California, are prisoners. These inmates get paid a very small amount of money. I'll give you the numbers on that in a moment. But they also, some of them very much enjoy it because it gets them out of prison, which does not mean that it's, they love to act like it's a voluntary thing. Yeah, it's voluntary if you put the threat of prison over somebody. You can either stay in this cage all day or go fight fires. They're like, wow, fighting fires all of a sudden sounds like an appealing idea. But what this mainstream media coverage has not mentioned, they've been talking a lot about how there is a lack of people to fight these fires. I don't know if this specifically in California, but it's especially in California. Maybe the prison labor issue is much more so California, but there's a lack of people to fight these fires because there is not enough inmates. And I'll read a quote from, this is Fairness and Accuracy in Reporting, which if you don't know them, you should definitely check them out. They basically just criticize the mainstream media and the catastrophic job they're doing, these corporate hacks on our mainstream airwaves. But this is a quote from Fairness and Accuracy in Reporting. The coverage from the MSM mainstream media all danced around a key problem with framing this as a labor shortage. There are plenty of workers available in California, in a state with 2.5 million people currently unemployed. 2.5 million that would love a job. Note, and the quote continues, no doubt, including many of the already fire-trained inmate workers who were released early by Governor Gavin Newsom in order to free them from the threat of getting sick in California's COVID-ravaged prisons. The main difference, unlike prison laborers, regular citizens, drumroll please, have to be paid more than a pittance wages. So that's why California has a labor shortage to fight these fires, because they're not willing to pay the what anybody fighting fucking state fires should get paid. They're not willing to give them benefits. How much do they want to pay them? I don't know if you all want to guess as to how much your average prison inmate gets for fighting these fires. Here, I'll continue from Fairness and Accuracy in Reporting, which is fair.org, by the way. In California, inmates at state prisons are allowed to apply to work at quote-unquote conservation camps, which, by the way, is way too close to concentration camps for me. I'm sorry, that is, I get it's a different thing, but listen, I wouldn't be okay with a leader named Schmadoff Bittler either. So I don't like conservation camps, okay? No, you can't. Anyway, to continue the quote, to apply to work at conservation camps for a base rate of $5.12 a day, plus an additional $1 an hour when actually out fighting fires. So most of the work that these inmates do when it's not a massive fire going on is this training and stuff like that, and brush clearing. And so for that, they get $5.12. You don't want to forget the 12 cents. $5.12 a day for the entire day's work. I mean, that's fucking crazy. then they get an additional $1 an hour if they're actively putting their life on the line fighting these fires. I mean, if that doesn't reek, hey, late-stage capitalism, if that doesn't scream, this is what fucking late-stage capitalism looks like, fucking prison labor, where people are getting pennies to fight the fires that we've created by filling the atmosphere with CO2 and methane, creating the largest fires these states have seen in thousands of years. Yeah, that's seriously dystopian. And if you haven't seen the photos of the red sky in California and the orange skies in Oregon, then we're talking straight up dystopia. To continue, to quote from Fairness and Accuracy in Reporting, as to why you may be asking, why are they allowed to use prison labor? Why is that? Why is this even a thing, prison labor? Forcing people that are in prison to do jobs that pay almost nothing. And again, I want to stop here and be like, they'll show videos of these prisoners saying, I really enjoy it. And I don't blame them. If I were in prison, I would enjoy it too. I would want to do anything that gets me out of prison. But that's a form of force, right? That is either you're in a cage or you can do this thing. Wow, doing that thing sounds great. I mean, that's a form of force. There's economic force. There's also the force of being in a fucking prison. So, you know, yes, many of these inmates will say in an interview they love doing it, and I would too if the other option were to be in prison. But as to why we have or when we got prison labor as a thing, here's to continue from fair.org. When Congress passed the 13th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution in 1865, ending slavery, it left open a loophole. You always want a good loophole. You always want to sneak in a little loophole because, you know, God forbid you don't have, you aren't able to enslave people and make them do work for basically nothing. So they put in a little loophole. To continue with the quote, involuntary servitude could continue as, quote, punishment for crime whereof the party shall have been duly convicted, unquote. And this continues with the Fairness and Accuracy in Reporting, quote, this effectively legalized slavery among imprisoned populations, allowing farmer slaveholders in the South to implement a convict lease system, contracting prisoners out to private farms. So basically, this continued a form of slavery after we made slavery illegal. That's what this did. Basically, many people in the South, many farmers in the South were like, well, you know, okay, you've gotten rid of slavery, but there's still got to be some way to force people to work for nothing. And Congress was like, we have just the thing. We have just the plan, just the loophole. Just a loophole. Nothing like a moist, wet loophole. Just fucking aching to be exploited. Anyway, to finish up here, the quoting from Fairness and Accuracy in Reporting, convict leasing was formally outlawed in 1941, so they can't trade convicts, basically sell convicts to each other. But the principle of using inmate labor to save money continues to this day. The estimated cost savings to the state of California from inmate firefighting alone is as much as $100 million a year. They save $100 million a year by forcing people who hardly get paid to fight their fires. And right now, they don't have enough of those people that basically don't get paid to fight their fires. Because the fires are unprecedented. And next year, they'll be unprecedented again. And they could pay for people to do this. We could have good jobs for not just firefighting, but for, you know, cleaning up of the forest and all of that stuff, defending towns. You could educate people on how to volunteer for these things so that we were working together as a community. But no. Just like with our military system, we don't want to think about it. We don't want to think about what goes on in the real world. We don't want to think about the fact that our world is burning. And so we create these systems to basically insulate the middle and upper class from having to deal with any of this, from being aware of any of this, until the fire's outside their door. Then all of a sudden it's very real. But until that point, even if it's just 20 miles away, 10 miles away, Don't even have to think about it. Someone else is handling it, you know? And who's handling it? Well, someone hardly getting paid. It's very similar with our military, right? Most of the country nowadays, you might have a veteran in the family. I have veterans in my family. And I'm not saying no one is, but there's actually very few people in America that are in the middle and upper class that have a current soldier or a current person in the military. And that's by design, because now the military can do whatever the fuck it wants, and it doesn't have to worry about the actual middle and upper classes getting upset. Hey, wait, are kids going to die for what? That question comes up a lot less nowadays, because the people that actually have political power, which is the upper class, don't have their kids over there for the most part. There are exceptions, but they're rare. And so this is very similar. You get the convicts to fight the fires, and then the middle and upper class don't have to think about the fact that the world is burning. And as I started this with, the mainstream media has talked about the fact that there is a labor shortage, but they haven't talked about the fact that why the fuck is it left to our prison inmates to save us from this fucking hellstorm? Why are they the only ones doing it? That's so fucked up. And in a piece of good news, but it's the kind of good news where if you think deeper about it, it's got some more fucked up background. In a piece of good news, Governor Gavin Newsom also just signed something. Actually, I should precede this by saying that one of the other things that people would talk about is these prisoners, once they get out of prison, aren't allowed to fight fires. They aren't allowed to become firefighters. Many of them, once they've done the job in the prisons, think this is something I could devote my life to. This is a passion I have. This is something I'd like to learn more about when I get out and maybe be a firefighter. I have the skills now. I've done it. I think this is something I could really do, and I could contribute to society, right? We always hear that term, contribute to society, or phrase. But in California, you're not allowed to become a firefighter if you're a convict, if you have something on your record. So, because you can't become an EMT if you have a record. And so, for the longest time, these prisoners would fight fires when they were in prison, but the moment they got out, they can't become firefighters. Again, phenomenally fucked up. But now, Governor Gavin Newsom has just signed something saying that prison firefighters can, once they get out, become firefighters. And I think they've got to be nonviolent to be in this jobs program to begin with. So they're all nonviolent crimes, whatever it was. That got, again, I'll put crimes in quotes, because if we didn't have this fucking drug law, you wouldn't have 90% of the nonviolent crimes in there to begin with. This drug war, is that what I said? This fucking drug war, which is completely racist and fucked up, and is a war on our own people. Just remember that. Every time when someone talks about the drug war, just remember that's a war on our own citizens for something that should be a health issue, not a legal issue. So these are all nonviolent crimes, and their records now, after this signing that happened like yesterday by Gavin Newsom, would be expunged, and they could then go become firefighters after they get out of prison. Now, that's great. That's a step in the right direction, but it's fucked up that this system ever existed. It's fucked up that we ever had, that we aren't just paying the appropriate amount to people to have these jobs. A Band-Aid over a wound. I'm all for the Band-Aid. These people should be able to become firefighters, but I'm not going to do some kind of fucking dance around the maypole for Gavin Newsom for signing this thing. It really just calls to attention a deeper problem, which is this slave labor that goes on to begin with. I was out in California, I don't know, a year ago or something. And anybody who's ever been out there, if you've ever gone along the Pacific Coast Highway, it's fucking magnificent. It is gorgeous. And for much of it, I mean, it's a sheer cliff with the ocean as far as you can see on one side, and, cliffs or rocks on the other side. And you're going down this thing for hours. And it's just pure beauty. And it's got parts of it as redwoods and just incredible. And I kept thinking, like, how the fuck did they build this thing? It is a modern marvel, the Pacific Coast Highway. It's on this fucking edge going into the ocean. It's amazing. And then I looked it up. I probably shouldn't have. And I looked it up. Built by prison labor, largely by prison labor. And back then, I don't even know if they were given an option. It was probably just like, guess what? We're going out to build the Pacific Coast Highway and maybe die while you're doing it. But have fun. I don't think they got a choice back then. And I definitely don't think they got paid anything. Not even the $1 an hour. They didn't get that. So prison labor, not a new thing here in the United States. I've talked about it before. We use it. Victoria's Secret came out. The Victoria's Secret was using it. Other company, and now they've stopped using it supposedly. But the head of the founder of Victoria's Secret is one of the guys behind the Epstein scandal. He's actually above Epstein on the hierarchy, I believe. Anyway. Then other brands use prison labor to sew the Made in America tag on the clothing so that it'll look like it's made in America. I'm not fucking kidding. They get it imported from Bangladesh where they can pay them 5 cents. They can pay less than prisoners. Pay them 5 cents an hour. And then they get imported. And then they pay $1 an hour or $5 a day or whatever it is to sew the Made in America tag on there. And it counts as Made in America because the tag was put on in America. So whenever you see that Made in America tag, just know that means that the tag was made in America, not the fucking products. It's incredible. Do yourself a favor. Don't read. Don't read things. It's a bad idea. You start reading things, and it's just you learn stuff that's not good. It's all ugly. It's all ugly underneath it all. Anyway. This is a great fairness and accuracy in reporting article you should check out. I really appreciate you guys joining me I here today. I do Moment of Clarity every single weekday, except sometimes you can fucking get a stamp, put it on things that says that. So please come back a lot, and I don't ask for your money. I just ask that you share these, let people know, and hit the subscribe button and the bell next to it. And any day you miss it, just come on back to leecamp.com because I put each one up at the top of leecamp.com. So if you missed the live stream, just go to leecamp.com, learn your news of the day. All right, keep fighting.